Hello, good afternoon. If you're joining us, we are going to wait 1 or 2 more minutes. I can see we have participants joining us from the waiting room. So we're going to wait till they get settled and start again in a minute or two. All right, we're going to go ahead and dive in. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. My name is Grace Sullivan Zirkle. I serve as the Director of New Student and Family Programs at Duke, which means it's my privilege to help welcome all of you and orient you to life here at Duke before you arrive and during the first few weeks of your time here on campus. If this is your first summer transition series, welcome. We're glad that you're tuning into this series to hear directly from experts on campus about a variety of topics that will help in your transition. If you've already been to a few STSs, welcome back. We're glad you're still here and still tuning in. Today, we are joined by our team in Trinity to talk about constellations. But before I hand it off to them, I'm going to go over a few housekeeping items. Next. This is a Zoom webinar. We are recording it so that we can post this afterwards so that any of your peers who may not have been able to join live can still get this content. It also means that you will be able to review this. If you are taking notes and miss some great answer to a question, you'll be able to revisit this webinar afterwards. Please give us about 48 hours and we will have it posted online for your viewing. There is an option at the bottom of the screen that says Q&A. This is where you will be able to submit questions throughout the presentation. And after our presentation, we will get to those questions and answer as many as we can live. You may get some answers that are directly chatted to you, but most of them we try to answer live if possible. All right. With that, I am going to pass things off to my colleagues in Trinity to get us started.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'll just introduce myself real quick and then pass it to my colleague. But hi, everyone. Welcome. We're so excited today to talk about constellations. My name is Andrea Merritt Papalate. I'm Associate Dean of Undergraduate Education here in Trinity. And I'll let my colleague introduce himself.
Hi, I'm Dr. Michael Damarati. I am the Director of Constellations. Good afternoon. I'm looking forward to this. So briefly, we're going to do a short presentation and then really open up most of this to questions from you. That's what we want to do today. So we are here to talk about constellations. It's very exciting. And as an example of our collaborative spirit, we're going to work together on this. So if we go to the next slide, you'll hear me say that quite often, unfortunately. So with the ANS, the Arts and Science curriculum, there is, of course, a values-driven enterprise with this. All of this curriculum is funneled through the ideas of connections, curiosity, and epistemic humility. So by connections, we mean the opportunity to foster relationships with faculty, with peers, with graduate students, other undergraduate students, researchers, all kinds of things on campus. And we really want to do that in this first year as you get going. Related to that, of course, is curiosity, giving you the chance to explore with questions, with inquiry, the idea that we're here to learn and embracing that space of the unknown and what that means, not really building from a position of strength and knowledge, but more the growth in that knowledge and the development of that person. And then finally, epistemic humility. And this is the chance to really move forward with that, beginning your college career with the idea of learning, not showing off what you know, but rather embracing the idea of research itself, of inquiry and questions, and moving forward to understand how things work, or in some cases don't work. As part of this, there is the first year experience, which is done through Focus and Constellations. Focus, I'm sure you heard much about. And so Constellations is what we're going to do today. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, this is a values-driven enterprise, those three values coming together. And most importantly, this was faculty-led. We quite literally reached out to faculty across campus last summer and said, what would you like to talk to incoming students about for a year? And we spent the last year bringing them together as they found colleagues and friends and new people across campus, across all different departments, to put together these ideas, these questions, these curiosities. And so it's really an organic enterprise that brings together the whole of campus to welcome you in the spirit of what we're doing. Related to that, we've gone through workshops and trainings to help faculty get ready to teach and work with first-year students. So whether it's activities in the classroom, whether it's assignments, whether it's the way information is presented or the materials you're going to read or watch or build in class, or the activities outside of class in the Constellations, really working to help people do that at that first-year level so you can ease into your experience here and really have a great welcoming time. And related to that, of course, is building community. So one really cool aspect of the Constellations is that it draws from not only faculty in Trinity, but faculty from the Thompson Writing Center, from librarians, graduate student fellows, and of course, your peers in first year. So all year long, you'll have the chance to build relationships, engage with and learn from and work with all these different people on campus, really giving you a robust intellectual network with which to work and engage as you start your Duke career. Next slide. Thank you. So there are 16 constellations, and we'll get to those in a second, but I think it's really a really great staple to say every single department in Trinity is represented. There are 40 departments and programs, and every one of them has at least one class represented in these constellations. There are over 120 faculty that have come together to put this on. I'm not joking when I say this really is a university-wide initiative to welcome you as a holistic group onto campus and really position you well for success with support and relationships along the way. So go to the next slide. You can see our constellations here. And I think one really remarkable piece is that they're all questions. Going back to that moment of curiosity and humility, we are driven by questions. What do we want to know more about? What do we want to explore? What do we want to learn? And that's what we're doing here. And so on our website, you can see more of these in detail, and we can certainly answer questions about them. But these are the 16 constellations in our inaugural year, and we are excited to work through them. Andrea?
Yeah, so I'll take the next slide. Thank you so much. And so hopefully seeing those questions just got you super excited about constellations if you hadn't seen them before. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the matching process, how you're going to get matched with one of these constellations and then be able to enroll in some of the courses that go along with the constellation. And so we'll talk a little bit about the nuts and bolts and some of the logistics. So all of you, just yesterday in your Duke Hub, you should see on your to-do list if you are a Trinity student and you are not enrolled in Focus, you should be able to see a constellation matching form. And this is located in, like I said, in your Duke Hub. Right when you open it up, you'll see that in your to-do list. This survey, this form is due by June 17th. So we ask that everybody takes a look at this. And we're going to ask for some of the constellations that you're interested in and possibly some that you don't have as much interest in. But before you do that, let's take some time and look through these constellations. So on the Trinity website, under the undergraduate curriculum, there is a spot there for first year experience, and that will lead you to the constellations, which is this website. So definitely check that out. Each of the 16 constellations is listed there, and you'll see a description of the constellation as well as the fall courses and the spring courses. So the whole year has already been designed for each of these constellations. So you'll be able to see all the courses that are part of each of those constellations. So you can see what makes them up, what are you interested in, how are they going to be asking or answering this question. So with this form that you have in Duke Hub is you will have an opportunity to pick 6 constellations that you are excited about, that you want to take some of these courses and have some interest in. Like I said, you can also pick up to 2 that just maybe not a good fit for you. And then submit that by June 17th. You can repeat this form if you would like. Say you change your mind or all of a sudden you see something that you're really interested in. We will take the last response that you do. So the last submission that you do with this form is the one that we will take. So just make sure that last submission is the final set. Those are the constellations you're interested in. So next slide. And again, these are the constellation themes that Dr. Domaraki just mentioned. They were in question format, and that's really the main title of the constellation. These just help show the themes that we're hitting. And one thing that I want to see is there's something for everyone. We are across all sorts of disciplines, looking at many different things that are happening within the world, within our society, and kind of thinking through it from different perspectives. With these are the short titles. So you may see these within Duke Hub or some other areas where you're trying to look them up. And I'm going to show that in the next slide, but I just wanted to show you these as the short titles and really so you can see those themes. What are we looking at in the constellations? Next slide. So after you do this matching form, as I mentioned, it's going to be due by June 17th. There is a committee of faculty that will be working through this matching process, and we will work with each of you to get in, hopefully, into one of your 6 choices of the constellations. And we want everybody to be happy with their constellation choice. And you will receive that July 7th. So once we receive that, you'll know which constellation you're in, and you'll be able to work with your academic advising center, work with your thinking through your courses once you have that match constellation. So in those constellations, there are fall courses and then spring courses, which we will worry about during spring registration later on. So we're just concentrating right now on fall. You will register on July 30th. And again, there will be many more webinars on this. AAC, our Academic Advising Center, will be doing a webinar and will help you through this registration process. But in the terms of constellations, you'll enroll in one constellation course. You'll also enroll in a Writing 120 if you're assigned to the fall semester. This is how we've always done it for first year writing, is that you'll be assigned either the fall or the spring, and this will depend on your constellation. Many are only in the fall. Some constellations have both fall and spring writing courses. So if you are assigned, you will take Writing 120, which is our first year writing course, as well in the fall. And then you'll register for either 2 or 3 additional courses, depending on your writing. Some things to think about with the constellations is we do have 4 or so constellations that only have 1 course in the fall. That's not the writing course, but just 1 constellation course. So you would just enroll in that constellation course and then writing if you were assigned. In the spring, you will enroll in the spring constellation course. So the spring will have a collection of courses with each of those constellations, and you can pick one of the constellation courses to enroll, and then writing if you were assigned to the spring writing. So you take 1 constellation course in the fall, 1 in the spring, and then you're writing depending when you were assigned. And again, look at those courses. Some constellations have multiple fall courses. There's a handful that just have 1. All constellations have multiple spring courses that you can pick from on your match constellation. Next slide. So again, we're thinking about the fall courses at the moment, but be thinking about both fall and spring as you're kind of looking at the constellation that you're thinking through. At the moment, with your Duke Hub in an advanced search, you can look at the fall courses in a little bit more detail. So you can see when the class times are, you can look at the instructor, you can look at the location, and all of those things within the advanced search. So what you will do is you can look at the fall 2025. You can use that term. Then you can go to course attributes, which is shown in the lower left arrow, and you can pick constellation course. Then the box next to it will be a course attribute value, and you can use the short title like innovation, inequalities, war and peace and war. One of the constellations that you're interested in, once you click that in, like AI, and you hit search, you will see all the courses for the fall in that constellation. And that will give you a little bit of idea of when these times are. So if there is another course that you really need to take, like Chem 99, then you can think through what's a constellation. There are 6 of them that are going to match really well for me, and I'm still unable to take this class. So those are some things you can start to think through. So you can look at for conflicts with other courses you may want to take in the fall, and advising will help with this process as well. One thing that I will have to say as a former pre-health advisor, a former advisor myself, is especially the fall term, this is a great opportunity to explore these questions, have some fun, get used to the courses. So if the constellation that you're thinking through doesn't quite match your major that you're interested in or a pre-professional path, this does not matter at all at this point. This is a great opportunity to do some exploration, and maybe find some other areas that you're also interested in. The other thing that I will say is these constellation courses, which you will see when you do this advanced search, also carry our arts and science code. So that's sort of part of our general education that academic advising will work with you, but you'll see that these courses also carry codes. So lots of information in here. And we'll move to the next slide. But lots of opportunity to ask questions to us. So we've got a team of faculty within this Constellations that are working with Constellations and happy to answer any questions that you may have. And so that we do have an email if questions pop up, constellations@duke.edu. Please feel free to email us those questions. And we're also going to do consultations with our constellations. And so just note those times. And again, on the website, you can get the link to those. Those are drop-in virtual constellations where you can ask questions and things like that to a member of our committee. And as we finish up, we will open up to some questions now that you guys can start asking our team.
Thank you so much. Yes, as was mentioned, if you have questions, this is the time to put it in the Q&A below, so we can ask our colleagues here right now, maybe save you from coming to another consultation later. So one question that came up as you all were talking about the matching, is there any way to indicate a strong preference for one specific constellation?
No. No, this is, as we mentioned, this is really an opportunity to look at the different ways of doing things. So every constellation is truly interdisciplinary. The point being that departments or researchers don't own a question, they own how that question is explored. And so there's great ways to look at how maybe you're interested in this topic, but the manner in which it's addressed, you can look at different ways in different constellations. You can explore different modes of thinking in different constellations. So it's a chance to step out and see what else the university space has to offer you academically and intellectually.
Great. Another question, when students are matched with a constellation and they go to register, if there's multiple classes in that constellation in the fall, do they choose which classes or are they matched to a specific class within the constellation?
That's a great question. No, you choose which class works best for you, for your schedule, what you may have interest in, and what's available. And so as we kind of know, when you register for courses, hopefully you'll get your top pick, but there's other students that will be there, but you will get one of those constellation courses and it is up to you. You choose.
Great. There are two questions in the chat about focus. I might push both of them out and you can answer as needed. So one is, if someone's already enrolled in focus and wants to switch, can they? And the other is kind of the reverse. They're waiting to hear back about focus. They submitted their app, but are waiting to hear back. Should they go ahead and do the constellations form or should they wait?
So I would suggest, one, the answer to both questions is I would hold off because the matching form can only be submitted for those students who are not enrolled in focus. And so if you don't get the position or the cluster that you're interested in, you withdraw from focus and then submit the matching form. So you definitely have time to wait because they'll announce the next couple of days. Is that right? Yeah.
I believe so. Yeah. So it's early June that will announce and check in with focus and things like that. But if it's not a great fit for you in focus, you definitely can, as Dr. Domaraki said, leave focus and come over to Constellations if you choose.
And those are great conversations for those consultations that we're holding to sit through and say, why might you not be interested in focus and why Constellation may or may not be a better fit for you. Both are great options, and we're happy to sit down and talk through the pros and cons and interests of both.
Yeah.
I'm going to take that chain and let you run with it. So someone is asking, why was Constellations even created as an initiative? Do y'all want to talk a little bit more about that big picture?
Yeah, I believe that's yours to start with.
Yes, I can start with it. Focus has been around for many years, and it's been an amazing program. And it's where students are able to take a topic and look at it from multiple perspectives, and to have that community feeling when they enter into Duke, they step foot onto Duke and have a sense of belonging. We wanted to take that and expand that to all first years. And so that's the growth of the Constellation program. And that is allowing students again to have that cohort feeling. It's very important for students to have a feeling of community, a sense of belonging with both their peers and their faculty. And so this was driven from the focus perspective as well for other students.
The only thing I'd add to that is that this whole initiative and its design, conception, and imagination was driven by professors. Professors are the ones who created this entire thing and said, we want our students to feel better connected. We want to connect with our students better. And this is what they designed. And so it's a really cool organic space of the people in front of the room who are often seen as intimidating, really saying, no, we want to build something different and give you a different entry point in here.
And I'm just gonna off of that and just say, we've been working with this faculty for over a year now doing this. And I think the best part is to see their excitement. I mean, they are so excited about Constellations, and just to see them kind of work together and just get really excited about the activities, the courses and things like that. I think that's one of the brightest things from this movement, from this program.
There's been
Two
a number of
questions.
Yeah, just a number of professors who got excited saying, I might sit in on your course a couple times.
I love that. Two questions I'm going to couple again. One is, do you need prerequisites for any courses in Constellation? And do Constellations count for any of the liberal arts requirements?
Yeah. I can answer some of that and take off if I have missed anything, but for the most part, no, none of the courses, and they were specifically designed so that they had no prereqs and no hidden prereqs. I mean, this is really the stat course, whatever it is, we have made sure that any student could walk in and take a history course, a bio course, whatever it may be, that you would be fine. And so this is really looking at an introductory view of this question, this topic, this discipline. The only course that does have a prereq is there is a Spanish 300 course in life, death, and in between, and that does have a prereq. So that is only for students who meet that placement guideline. All the other courses, we have a couple of other courses from the German German studies and Russian. Those are all taught in English, so that they do not have a prereq or anything like that. It's different from the German language. It's looking at the topic that's associated with the constellation. These
And
courses, go ahead.
just to clarify real quick on that point, even with the life, death, and in between, that's one class that has it. You can still take the Constellation and just not take that class and be totally fine.
Yeah. And almost all the courses do carry codes. So there are liberal arts categories. There's 6 categories. Then they all carry different codes. And they were made specifically to have different codes so that you could take one code in the fall and a different one in the spring. So most constellations have a variety of codes that you can pick from. That could be sort of the art theme or the natural science theme, whatever it may be. And a lot of these courses will go towards a major, minor, or certificate. So they can also be used for those areas as well.
Great. More questions about the assignment matching process. Multiple people are asking, is there any way to change? Let's say you get your 6th top choice. Can you petition for higher or something like that?
So there will be an opportunity in drop add for students to make that request. We're going to review all of them and look at them, but they will be subject to the availability of what open slots there are. And so there's a chance for the student to express their reasoning, and we'll take a look and just see what options there are. To the point being made about the breadth of topics being addressed, this is also not your only chance to address these questions. This is a great entry point into them, but there are other researchers and programs and things where you can get involved in these questions as well. So it's not like you're going to miss out on the chance to look at that question. This is just a starting point where you might look at it or look at something else that's also of interest to you.
So after students are registered, if you don't get your favorite, you still need to register. And then after that process, there'll be a way for them to petition potentially.
Correct. Yes.
They'll be able to, yes. The potential is what's available, but they can certainly put in the request. But I mean, I would really encourage you to think about this as an opportunity to try something new, to try something maybe scary, something intimidating. This is your entry point into college. And think of how many different opportunities, resources, subjects, and topics are available to you now that weren't in high school. And so there's a chance to push yourself to look at something new. I can't tell you how many students I encounter in their first and second years who are just flabbergasted that that's a subject you can study. Right, and this is what the university space is, looking at everything and saying, we should study this. We should ask questions about it. And it's a cool space to be in with faculty who are excited about that process.
And they're excited to show people who are not familiar with the subject. And they're excited to show people, oh, this is our discipline. Check it out.
Oh, there's so many good questions in here. I'm trying to sort through them. All right, there's some questions about advising, big picture, that I think integrate here into Constellations. So I'm going to see if I can do that. This sort of like, when do we meet with an advisor and how do we figure out these courses also compared to other courses? Like shopping carts are open. Should I start putting courses in my shopping cart now while I'm waiting to figure out about Constellations?
So I used to work at the Academic Advising Center, so I'll speak with a little bit of that hat on. When you're looking at Constellations, I would strongly encourage you to look at the Constellation in and of itself outside of I really need to take Chem 99 or whatever class it may be, as in this is a chance for you to try something out. In terms of the rest of your courses and how you're going to do that, the Academic Advising Center will run their own webinar on July 8th, and they're going to offer a series of advising throughout the month of July, which we'll both be helping out with. And it's at that point that you can really start sitting down and being, what can my schedule look like, as you don't register until July 30th. So there's lots of time for you to sit down and talk with someone and get some guidance on that after you've been mastered your constellation, which again is just a chance for you to explore something in and of itself.
Great. Can you all reiterate when students find out when they take writing 120 and when will they know that?
Yeah. They will know that when they find out their constellation. They will also, there's a lot of secrets there. When they find out what they're matched with, they will also find out their semester that they're taking writing.
Wonderful. Lots of questions about the order, the matching form.
Yeah.
Is it ranking the top 6 or just listing the top 6? Is there any way to show any difference?
It's just listing, there's no ranking.
Great.
I know it's hard.
It's okay to reiterate. I think that's good.
Yeah, no.
Is there any benefit to doing the form early?
No. And so like we've already had students submit the form and they've already emailed me asking questions and have already changed their mind. And that's why we're letting you resubmit the form as many times as you'd like. Have the consultations, learn about some other things, check out the course descriptions. It's okay to change your mind, be like this over that, and that's fine. So as long as it's in by that 17th deadline, whatever is the most recent one you submitted, as was said earlier, we'll be good to go there.
We will not start matching until that deadline.
I asked about focus to constellations, but can someone switch from constellations to focus?
The application, I believe, is over, so May 25th was the deadline.
All right, I'm going to read this one out loud. If the constellation you end up has a writing that is only offered one semester that you prefer, is there a way to take that one you are placed in writing the other semester? I think that means, are you allowed to take a writing course outside of your constellation that you're really excited about? That's how I read this question.
I'll answer it that way. No, you have to take the writing that is assigned to that's part of your constellation. Because all the faculty, including the writing faculty, are part of that constellation and they're all working together. So you cannot take a writing outside. I don't know whether the student was asking if they're assigned to the fall, could they take the spring one?
Yes, let's go that way too. If does a constellation, could it ever have two writings? And then would they be able to choose within that, or they're really going to be told you need to take a fall writing, and therefore there's only one fall writing within that constellation?
Yeah, there are situations, constellations that have, but a lot of them have fall, they all have fall. Some have spring. If you are assigned a fall and there's two sections or multiple sections, you can choose whichever one you want. You just have to take a writing in the fall. Same with the spring. So you're not assigned to the actual section or the topic of the writing. You just, part of your constellation, you've got to do that one. Now to switch from fall to spring, no, we will not. We will not be able to do that. Unless it's an extreme circumstance, I mean, always come and talk to us and things like that, but no, you will do what you're assigned to.
Great. There's a few questions trying to confirm the number of courses taken for constellations overall and how many are fall versus spring. Could you reiterate that once more?
Sure. So a helpful way of looking at it is the constellation has 3 courses. You will take 2 Trinity courses and 1 writing course. You will take 1 Trinity course in the fall, 1 Trinity course in the spring, and writing in either the fall or the spring, depending on when you're assigned. And that's just mathematically so we have enough instructors to teach all the students coming in the first class. That's why it's divided up. It's just to accommodate the space that we have. So it's 3 total. Trinity in fall, Trinity in the spring, and writing either fall or spring.
And just to go along with that, focus is the same. So focus is just, it's 3 courses. There are 2 in the fall and then writing will be in the spring. But all first year experiences, you all do the same number of courses requirement.
There are 2 questions that I read as saying there's a course that looks really, really exciting. If I'm not in that constellation, is there any way for me to take that course at some point in my time here at Duke?
So many of the courses are going to work in some sort, like they're designed for the constellation, but the department may offer an upper level version of that course that you would be able to take later on. So I don't know the specific of each class that's going to do that, but I think the faculty are aware that these are really cool and people will want to take them. And so they might end up spreading them around.
We've had sophomores and juniors asking as well. So yes, a lot of the courses will have a similar one, but just a different number that will be attached to it. Or just not have the CN. You may have noticed that CN is for a constellation course. And so you may see it another time without the CN, and then you can be able to take it.
Is there a way for students to find more about the writing seminars and what they're about? So can they find that in the course catalog in the shopping cart?
Yeah, so if you go to Duke Hub, like we showed earlier, their writing courses are in there, including the descriptions that go with the class.
And I believe TWP, which is the Thompson Writing Program, that's the community that puts on all these writing courses and the faculty there. I believe they have some information on their own website about the Writing 120 courses. So you'll find more information there.
Do constellations meet outside of class time and have other activities outside of classes, or is it mainly through the courses?
I've been talking a lot. You want to go? Yeah, I'm happy to. So yes, there are activities similar to Focus that are outside that all the constellation students with that match constellation will come together and participate in. And faculty are super excited about these activities. And they can be things from a speaker. They're all going to be housed or around the Durham area. And that's for accessibility and making it easy for you as you're juggling coming onto Duke campus. But it could be doing a tour in Durham. It could be having a special speaker, a panel, a dinner with faculty, having, a certain sports representative come and talk or something like that, depending on the constellation. So lots of fun activities. There's usually one in the fall and one in the spring, at least.
Lots of interest in the matching. What's the criteria that these will be matched? How does a student know, like, yeah, what's the criteria for matching?
It is those 6 things that you give us. So we have a program that we're going to use that is completely randomized, and it is those 6 pieces of information, those 6 constellations that you provide us, that we will put you in one of those constellations. And we guarantee you will not be in, if you provide us with 2 that you're just not sure about, we guarantee you will not be placed in those. And we are doing our very best. And statistically, we think we can accomplish it. We're just going to try to put everybody in at least one of those 6 that you provide us. And that's it.
So as we mentioned, this whole thing was built from the values that the faculty identified, including that epistemic humility. Like, these may not be the most exciting thing to you right now, but you may find that 4 years from now, your ideas may change as you encounter new perspectives and new ways of thinking and new lines of questioning. And so this is just to jumpstart that and give you an opportunity to look at things that you might not be accustomed to. And so we're not trying to not put you in there, not by any stretch. That's why we have the 6 preferences. But within those 6, I mean, there's lots of opportunity to engage in cool things.
One more time, can you all reiterate when they'll learn about match and how, in what form will they know? And where do they find that form for the matching?
They'll find the form for the matching when they log into Duke Hub. So make sure that you do have the criteria, your net ID and things like that, that you're setting up your Duke Hub. But when you log into Duke Hub and you have that that first screen, there is on the right side, there's a to-do in Message Center, and you'll see a little 1 or 2, depending on how much you have to do. And if you do, one of those will be the survey. And again, these are for Trinity students who are not in focus. So if you're a Pratt student, you would not have this one.
Yep. And you'll be notified on July 7th via email. And then that will also appear in your Duke Hub somewhere in there. I'm not entirely sure where, but you'll get it in both places. And I don't know when on July 7th, so we can anticipate that question sometime on July 7th.
All right, there's a question that I'm going to start to answer. If you all have more, feel free to add in. But again, another question sort of about when do we meet with advisors? Is it before Constellations, after? As a Trinity student, you will have many opportunities to receive advice and counseling throughout the summer, right? Some of those is this webinar, the drop-ins for Constellations, coming to the Trinity STS on July 8th. The Academic Advising Center is also available for you throughout the summer. You can reach out by phone or email if you have questions. You will have a college advisor once you arrive here on campus. So for future semesters, you'll be able to meet with that person and build a relationship. But we know everyone's path in the summer is a little different. People have questions at different times. So hopefully all of these resources will allow you to feel like you have support and can get guidance about Constellation courses, but other courses as well. Great.
Nailed it, Grace. Awesome.
Yeah, perfect.
Thanks. All right, we are getting to the end of these questions. There are a lot of questions that have been repeats. Hopefully you all students we've been able to answer them. If you feel like we didn't head on, you can always reach out to us later as well, and watch the recording, which will again be live in about 48 hours. A statistics question. How many people are in Constellations? How many people are we talking about?
Yeah, great question. So we're anticipating be all Trinity students. So all Trinity students will have to do a first year experience. Focus will be between around 400 to 450, maybe up to 500. So depending on how many students go to focus, the remaining students, so about 1,000 students will go through Constellations.
All right. We are to the end of our questions. So I'm going to have my colleague bring up our last few slides as a reminder. Again, I just want to say thank you so much to our colleagues in Trinity for spending this time explaining this new process, but really, really exciting curricular piece for our Trinity students as part of the first year academic experience. We're really excited. Thank you so much for your time today. If you still have questions, please don't leave with questions. This is a way for you to get those answered. You can email constellations@duke.edu. You also can drop into those consultations. Again, if you have those specific questions about you and your experience, please come to those and we'll make sure that you have all of your questions answered before submitting that form and before registering for courses. For all of our students that joined us, thank you so much for being here. Again, this is part of a series, our summer transition series. We host multiple webinars throughout the summer. Our next one that's coming up is Staying Well in Your First Year. This is a great opportunity to understand more about student health and well-being here on campus, including immunizations, health insurance, nutrition. So we hope that you will join us on June 10th at 4 p.m. You can register for that webinar online through our Summer Transition Series website. Thank you all so much and have a great evening.